Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cue the sirens because today we are going over a very hot take. We're heading over onto Twitter where there was a clip posted to the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro. What Marinaro did was he had former NHL scout and current Twitter personality Grant McKegg onto the show talking about the potential scenario of the Montreal Canadiens making a trade for Connor Bedard. Here's the video. It'll be linked in the description. It's only 20 seconds long, so it doesn't take too much of your time. In the video segment, they bring up a question from a user called Anthony Crisafulli, and what they ask is, do you trade your 2 first-rounders, so the Montreal first and the Florida first, plus Cole Caufield for Bedard? Marinaro asks McKegg, and McKegg says yes. However, it indeed is mentioned on the show that even though this is a slam dunk yes for the guys who are talking about it, this is not a trade idea that the team that has the first overall pick would say yes to. And because of the context of the clip, because it was posted onto Twitter, there were people going out there replying to it, like Jeff Veillette, for example. I like Cole Caufield, but come on, let's be real here. This isn't near enough for Bedard. These are the kinds of proposals that would become a national dunk competition if they came out of Toronto. Now, I will say, it's kind of framed in a bit of an intriguing way when it's posted onto Twitter. It says Grant McKegg would trade Cole Caufield and 2 first-rounders for Connor Bedard, but it doesn't really talk about the rest of the quote that he has on the video where he says the other team would not accept that. And I feel like this is sort of setting McKegg up to get dunked on a little bit, and that's kind of what the replies on this Jeff Veillette tweet talk about as well. But this is kind of why I wanted to bring this entire thing up, because when it comes to Connor Bedard, there's a growing sentiment that I'm actually really happy to see that talks about how this guy is pretty much untradeable, period. Because when it comes to the idea of trading away Caufield, the Canadiens first, and the Panthers first for a guy like Bedard, I think most Canadiens fans would agree that this is a slam dunk hell yes. Right? I mean, look, Cole Caufield is great and all, and I know a lot of Canadiens fans here are in love with the guy as much as I am. We made a ton of videos talking about every single weekend at Wisconsin where he would score multi-goal games night in and night out. We made videos on all of that. And so when it comes to this dude, there's nobody more than me, more than all the people who had followed those videos, that cares more about Caufield and who is as hyped up for Caufield as we appear to be. But I'm just taking my guesses out here. I feel like most Canadiens fans would say that this trade idea, trading away Caufield and 2 firsts for Bedard, is something that they would consider. Heck, Cole Caufield is a 40 pace goal scorer right now. Let's go over the numbers right here. I didn't have this open before starting this video. I probably should have done that, my bad. Cole Caufield, at the time of recording this audio, has 31 points in 39 games played, on pace for 65 total in 82 games, and he's got 22 goals on pace for 46. Now, this has been a pretty bad stretch for most Canadiens players the past few weeks here, so guys like Cole Caufield, for example, are no longer on pace for 90 points and 50 goals. They are on pace for a lot fewer than that, so it's unfortunate to see guys like Suzuki, guys like Caufield, everybody else, their numbers are declining quite significantly in terms of the overall paces, but Caufield is still a guy that I think most people in the NHL community can say is a 35 to 40 goal potential player. He may get a lot more goals than assists. He has done that the past few years. He's played hockey pretty much everywhere, especially at the NTDP. I mean, the guy had 72 goals and 28 assists in 64 games in his draft season. But when it comes to what Connor Bedard could potentially do as soon as next year, I feel like if Bedard goes out there and outscores a guy like Caufield right away at 18 years old, it wouldn't be the most surprising thing in the world. Am I kind of crazy for saying that? Like, look at this. Realistically, Cole Caufield next season, if everything goes right, the Canadiens are not going to be too amazing. Caufield himself is going to be pretty amazing. Nick Suzuki, probably going to be pretty amazing too. Now, the Canadiens will probably go through a few stretches throughout next season like they are right now. It's inevitable on a team that is not as polished and a bit younger than most. And so for Caufield next season, I mean, if he gets a 40-goal year with 25 assists next season, that would probably be more in the realm of expectations of, like, you know, an actually good year for Caufield. Legitimately getting 40 goals and doing the 60-70 point dance. Suzuki might be able to go out there and get a bit more. He's got that playmaking side to his game. But if Connor Bedard on literally any NHL team goes out there and does the same as Caufield, then is anybody going to be surprised? Like, if the guy doesn't go out there and win the Calder Trophy, get maybe like 70, 75 points, are people kind of disappointed in this guy? If Connor Bedard in his rookie season, let's say he gets drafted by Arizona, he goes out there and gets 20 goals, 20 assists, are people disappointed in that? Because, for me personally, I mean, not that I'd be disappointed, it's more so that you would expect a guy like that, of that caliber, you know, all the production he had in the WHL and the World Juniors and just the efficiency, how he's able to play the game. You would expect a little bit more out of that. And I feel like long term, just taking a look at where where Bedard is in terms of the other greats we have seen suit up in the NHL draft in the past, there are scouts saying that he's the best prospect since Crosby. Not even since McDavid, but since the guy taken 10 years before McDavid. Might I remind you that Sidney Crosby in his rookie season was a 100-point guy. Now, he didn't win the Calder because some guy named Alex Ovechkin made his debut the same year, also had 100 points and had 50 goals in the process. But Connor McDavid was a point-per-game player in his rookie year as well. The problem was McDavid didn't win the Calder because he was taken out by Brandon Manning, and Artemi Panarin made his debut in that same season, so his 80-point year was able to win the votes of the voters. But when it comes to Cole Caufield, I feel like his overall ceiling is that of what I believe Connor Bedard might be able to get in year 3. I feel like Caufield has a whole bunch of potential. I really do. But if Caufield ever gets more than, like, let's say 50 goals and 30, 35 assists on a season, I'd be a little surprised. It's not like I'm necessarily doubting the guy. It's more so that there's kind of a ceiling, floor type of picture here that Cole Caufield fits into in my mind. And for a guy like Connor Bedard, I feel like his picture breaks that. And so for any first or double first type of trade with Cole Caufield for Connor Bedard, I do think that it's something that the Montreal Canadiens should probably say yes to, and probably will if they were given the opportunity to. It's just, as discussed on the show, Connor Bedard is so gosh darn good that I don't think there's anything, period, that any team should go out there and even consider in some sort of a Bedard trade. You would have to add, if you're trading away Caufield and 2 firsts for Connor Bedard. There's nothing within the realistic realm of possibility that doesn't completely just destroy a team by itself that any team would say yes to in trading away for Connor Bedard. Like, in order for the team to say yes to a Bedard trade, they would have to be receiving Caufield plus Suzuki plus those 2 firsts and maybe something else on top of that. And it's getting to the point where, okay, the Canadiens would be ridiculous to even try to make that type of a trade because they would be hurting their team more so than helping it. I think at this point he is the pure definition of an untradeable asset because that first overall pick might be the most important draft pick this hockey league has ever seen since the Edmonton Oilers drafting Connor McDavid. And you could even debate that McDavid pick wasn't even all too important because the Oilers haven't won too many Stanley Cups since that pick was made. In fact, they're still kind of tweeners on the wildcard scene at the moment, which is very peculiar to say the least. We could say the Crosby thing instead, because the Penguins won, 3 Stanley Cups under Crosby's leadership, and they made the finals 4 total times, so that first overall pick in 05 is probably an equally important one as to this Connor Bedard pick. But either way, talk in the comments your thoughts about this idea. Cole Caufield and 2 firsts, Florida and Montreal's first, for Connor freaking Bedard. Might I remind you that the Montreal Canadiens' first-round pick this year is probably going to be somewhere in the top 10, but at the same time, it has a small chance at being first overall in and of itself. Let's say it's second overall, and then the Florida Panthers get themselves a pick that's maybe somewhere else in the top 10. Do you think that changes the conversation? Is Adam Fantilli really that much of a step down? Because in my mind, the answer is yes. But either way, if you agree or disagree, let me know in the comment section below what your thoughts are on this topic. Would you trade the 2 firsts and Cole Caufield for Connor Bedard? And if you're a fan of the Arizona Coyotes, if you're a fan of the Blue Jackets, if you're a fan of any of these teams that are in the Bedard race, would you accept this trade proposal for Mr. Bedard himself? Talk in the comments your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.